That could have been just straight
Bad-
internet. Who
Bad
knows?
swiping, I think.
That's probably the
What
swipe.
do you mean a swipe?
You know, when you're sliding it over,
Oh, yeah.
and all of a sudden it goes pink and it narrows down again.
Oh, that's probably your.
Which do y'all like better, the quick view or the join the meeting?
What am I in?
I like the old
You're
one.
in join the meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Oh,
what
I
I'm
like
in
the
either.
quick view.
I like the quick view too.
I didn't click on that one until
How do I get to
like
that?
afterwards,
Over there
and I
on
went and I was
the
like, "Oh,
side.
what's this?" And I was like, "Oh, all of it's right there. I like that better."
And click on that.
Yeah, go back to home.
Yeah, and go click on that meeting again, the 13th. And then quick view. And then all.
Oh, hey, this is better.
Yeah, I liked it better
I
when
like
it was
that one
all this,
better
and you didn't
than-
have to click back and forth.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice this until after I think I read my thing, and
And
then
did
I
y'all
went
notice when you open something, there's little X's up in the top, if you click on that, it expands
because
it.
No.
I couldn't read
It
it.
took me for a long time.
I was
like,
trying to
can't
figure
No,
read
out
that
how
little
to make it
video
bigger.
that Renee sent us, it talked about that, so I made sure to do that, because I was like, how's I supposed to read this?
Yeah. But when you click that X, you could really.
Thank you,
Oh, yeah.
Renee.
There we go.
Oh,
Thank you.
you don't want me to evaluate myself? I tried to get Renee to evaluate and see other
Renee.
matches.
You do mine, Renee.
That's okay.
One more.
Oh, I do?
One more copy of that.
There you go, you have that
I
one too.
can't breathe.
So Kayla told me these masks were better because you could breathe through them, but now I have the air blowing straight into my eyes and it's making my eyes water.
Well, if somebody could tell me how to keep from fogging up my glasses, I'd appreciate it.
Hey.
Spit on them and rub.
Hey, please stay right.
I have not been tape on my face.
Well, if you pinch that.
It's got a little metal.
I do.
Adjust it.
I mean, I've only filled this out a million times. What am I supposed to do?
You gotta do it every year.
I know, but I don't remember. Do I
Good
leave
enough
the
for me.
blocks?
I can't even
Unless you
breathe.
have
This one is
some
so
with
hot.
I just leave it blank.
I got this one from work, and this one is so hot.
Do y'all want to, once we get started, do y'all want to try the follow me thing and have somebody lead you through it, or do y'all all want to just kind of look as you go, however you want?
I'd rather look as I go, personally.
Yeah. What do you mean on the?
It has a deal where somebody leads.
I couldn't get half my stuff. I can't even
Download?
see it. Yeah, I mean, it sat there, said loading, loading, loading for 5,
Sir,
10,
you are not
15
wearing
minutes.
your mask appropriately.
No.
I had to tell Rodney that today.
If I have
like
to
you
put it
be.
above my nose, it's gonna be 5 people. I'm serious, Eddie. 5.
Guess he's gonna take somebody with him.
I guess he-
I can't wait till you see how mine is on, because I can't breathe. This thing is
6.
hot.
They're gonna take somebody out with
Well,
them.
they're-
because-
Well, Terrence isn't here, so yeah, I guess I don't.
Is he not gonna be here?
No, as far as I know, he'll be here.
Okay.
Are we?
So when we get to quick view, do we have to download each file that we want to look at now? Or is there a way I can just start swiping and it goes in order?
She's the expert.
Oh, I
Really
didn't,
expert.
I didn't realize you could
I
use the
mean, that-
iPad for that. I thought that's why we
I
got
thought it
that.
didn't work on the iPad.
You
That's
mean,
what I thought.
yeah,
So-
no,
so
you
like-
have to click on each
So I've
attachment
gotta
if
go-
you want to open each attachment.
Well,
So we can
You
use
have-
our iPad
usually when
for
I
that too?
start,
I don't know, that's what
Okay.
Hannah said.
no, so, okay, but so like,
Yeah.
so like Mike says.
That's what I
so-
thought we
so
could.
I didn't
click
even
on
try
it,
it.
it's
We got the-
coming.
I didn't even turn mine on,
Download,
I didn't either.
download. This is,
and I didn't like this. I had to put it in
For
my
some
truck.
reason,
Sat in my
thinking
truck all day.
iPad didn't work.
That's what I thought.
You're going to Chrome.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
so
I
now,
thought too.
now that we're here.
I know we got.
Hey, Matt.
I know.
Hey,
we
I wanna go back.
Hey, hey.
Right. I thought
wanna
that
go
they
back
said
and
they
look
weren't
at
gonna
something.
work,
Yeah.
See,
but I honestly didn't try
You
it,
gotta
so.
get out of this altogether.
I
Mine-
did it.
You back?
You didn't what?
I didn't try using my
Try this on our iPad.
iPad.
I thought it would work on our iPad. That's why we got the Chromebook.
I thought that's what somebody had said.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even
I mean,
try.
you know, you want
How do I
to have
get to
easy
that?
access to this,
Yes,
don't
yeah.
you? Because
Oh, well.
They're
Right.
going
they're gonna
Back
take up
here.
a lot.
Right.
But now
No,
we're gonna look at
I'll
this agenda.
So scroll back the.
And maybe, I may have to go back
Ow.
to printing the executive summary.
Well, but that's not, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, back to agenda.
Well,
Okay, yeah, there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help me because
Curtis, mine
now-
has-
But Renee, if he opens it up and it's on the tab.
Some of the advanced
and
features
agenda's still the
won't.
first tab, you just saw this on Shannon.
See,
Yeah.
he did
Click on
say
it.
that,
Go back
Elizabeth.
to agenda,
He said some of the features won't work.
but
Oh, okay.
he could go to,
That's why I
you
didn't
could
even
open
try.
up and then you would just have all these
Oh,
tabs.
I'd be better if I could take
But as
this
you
mask
open
off, but
them,
I'm
they're
good.
created in tabs. So if you open them before,
We getting ready
So
for.
she wear it at work and I don't
I
wear it
said,
at work
so
either.
open up. Okay,
Well, I
so
thought
open up
Kayla
another
was
one
like,
and
oh,
get
you
another
can
tab.
breathe so much better. through
By
your
the
teeth."
time I'm
Which
done,
you
I'm at
kinda
40
can, but
tabs.
then the air just blows straight into my
Oh,
eyes.
yeah.
That's out.
Yeah, that
Which is causing another problem.
The time is 6:30. I'd like to call this, regular July meeting of the Lexington Board of Trustees to order. Do we have any public input? None. Okay. So, and we do have a quorum present, I'm sorry. We do have a quorum present. No public input. So with that, we will go to superintendent's report. Dr. Knowlton.
okay, if you will look under, staffing, Ms. Dodd has provided for you a list. We no longer have any openings. And this list has, all of our new people and our people who left, whether they resigned or retired or whatever. So that's just some information for you, so you can see who is where and who replaced him. Any questions on that? All right. The next thing is just COVID-19, just to let you guys, I know that's a real popular subject with everybody, but just kind of let you guys know where we're at. We have our public health protocol guidance now. We received that. And we have received our information about instruction. We're waiting on more information up from UIL about extracurricular activities. But we will have our NYPC meeting on the 20th. Then we'll at our next meeting with what our plan looks like going forward.
Is that not too late?
No. I mean, I don't think there's any earlier that we can get it done because we need to go back to that committee, which is next week. And then from that committee, the principals and I have to sit down and take what that committee recommends and get it into a nice, pretty plan and bring it back. We're also
I mean, I
gonna
was just wondering if we needed to have a,
special ball meeting too.
like if you, I mean, even if it pushes it up a couple of days, so teachers and parents know what the heck. I don't know.
The principals and I are meeting tomorrow all day, and we have a framework of a plan that we've started and kind of borrowed from other districts, their ideas. And so I think after tomorrow, we'll have a pretty good idea of what we're gonna take back to the NYPC. But then we're gonna send that back through the SHAC committee and the DIC, but that'll just be sending out, letting them do comments and then coming back. So, I mean, we could have one sooner if you guys want to. Principals, what are your thoughts with talking to your teachers and stuff? Do they need it sooner than that week of the 27th? What about 2 weeks?
I don't think so.
No.
I think
You're
there's
getting
a
more
lot of them,
questions from parents.
Yeah, see, I'm a planner, and as a parent, I would be, I just,
and they want to know.
Well,
but
they all
I
know
think
school's gonna start at regular time.
I mean,
it's what protocols we're going to have in place. And we've
Right.
kind of already released some of that on what we're thinking right now. The big thing's mask, and as long as that's going to be in place, so there's nothing we can do about that. And we've already talked about some of the things as a committee. After those committee meetings, we told them, washing your hands, hand sanitizer, all those kind of things. I've been asked on my parent calls about recess, eating lunch, all those kind of things. And so I think we're getting those answers out there. I would love to release it sooner than then. I just don't want to release it too soon that we didn't spend time really making sure that's what we were going to do. Think
Right.
about everything.
well, and I don't wanna offer to all my other board members to
Come
be,
back.
I'm just saying, if
If it would
it
help.
would help, I'm willing to do it.
I think if we could come, I'm gonna talk to you guys tonight about the 27th anyway for facilities. Stephen will probably mention that as well. And if we had said that August the 3rd would be our next budget meeting, that we would have a budget workshop that night and nail down compensation and all that. We get our values on the 25th. We need to meet on the 27th for facilities. So I kind of push myself in a corner, but I really think that if I get certified values on the 25th, I can have you what you need on the 27th to do the budget that night as well. And so then if we could do the budget and the facilities and our plan for reopening all that night, I think we'll be good.
All right, so we move to the 27th then instead of the 3rd.
Third, that's later, or somewhere in my notes down, but,
Well, I saw here was on the 27th, and that was one of the things.
yeah. That's the day I'm gonna meet with all the administrators, but, when Stephen does his update, he's gonna talk to you about the 27th being the date we really wanna finalize numbers. And so, I hate for you to come in on the 27th for that and turn around and come again for August 3rd for budget. So I'm just gonna try to get all the budget numbers on the 27th, and that way we can do both those in one night. Then we wouldn't meet again until August the 10th
Yeah, for a regular meeting.
for a regular
And then we still have to meet
meeting.
the 31st or maybe a day or two before. No later than the 31st, sometime the end of August.
So that's where we are with COVID. Right now, masks are a big deal. You probably heard in the news, I just want to kind of update you guys on where this stands because there's a lot of rumors and stuff going around. You've probably heard that some districts are back, they're going back remote. And let me tell you what he said about that. We are allowed to be flexible the first 3 weeks. So the first 3 weeks of school, we can transition. Their point in that was to bring a few back at a time, slowly bring everybody back. We're going to present that to the committee, but the administrators and I really feel like that just makes it worse if you're just bringing this here and there, and if we're going back, we're just going to go back. So that's where we're going to present it to the committee as, is that if we're opening up, we need to open up. But in the last couple of days, there's been a lot of districts that have decided they're not going back until after Labor Day. And then there's a couple of districts that aren't going back until October. So the big question with that is, how can they do that and get funding? Well, what they did is they went to their county judges and got their county judges to declare or prohibit schools from opening in that county until after an October day. So as long as your county
Where are
authority
these?
You're-
We're talking about
in
around,
Texas.
oh, just in, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're just in Texas. But some of them are around Houston, a couple of them are out towards El Paso, some towards San Antonio. But if the county judge, just like the county judge can make us close, he can also say you can't open this day. And so what they've done in those counties is say either you can't open until after Labor Day or you can't open until October Day. So then the state has to fund them because they've been closed by a local authority. And so I have no indication that Lee County would choose to do that. But if the Judge Fisher decided to do that and say schools couldn't open to a certain date, then he would be allowed to do that. And he would trump the commissioner's decisions. So you know.
Sorry, I got asked earlier and I read it, but I don't remember. Is there gonna be an age cutoff for masks, or if you're in kindergarten, you're wearing a mask?
We're gonna do 4th and 5th graders wear masks, because in the 4th grade, you have some 9th graders and some 9-year-olds and some 10-year-olds. Didn't really make sense to us. The inconsistency of having some kids with masks in the room, some kids not, would be more of a distraction and probably a taunting thing. And so we just said 4th and 5th grade is what our recommendation is gonna be, at the elementary. All staff members must wear masks, unless they're 6 feet apart, which, you know, in those lower levels won't happen. And so they'll either have to wear masks or shields, which I think a lot of our lower level teachers are going to prefer shields versus masks. Kids can see their mouth.
Right.
Special ed kids, you know, that need to be able to see them. So, Mr. Ladd's going to kind of find out for us who all is going to want that, but I think there's going to be several that are going to want
100% of who I've currently has,
ask for shields.
or have already bought them.
Yeah, a lot of them, Sam's has them right now, like a pack of 4 for $5 or something. They're the cheaper ones, but you're gonna get probably, so we'll probably be investing in some shields before we go back. Any other questions? Talked to a superintendent today. I talked to Denise Mondingo in Rockdale today, and we both had a conversation just that it's a daily new world every day of what we're doing or trying or going around, the commissioners' staff. There's different rumors. There's Huberty, which is the chair of the education committee, and the legislator. He's in and they are considering going back to the governor to get him to change some things before school starts, including the length of time for the restrictions, the way that they fund remote, allowing hybrid situations, all those kind of things. So it's still up in the air. There's still discussions every day happening in Austin, trying to determine how schools are going to really start. Some schools start August 3rd, so they're going to have to hurry up and make decisions. So I feel like more changes are coming in the next couple of weeks. And that kind of goes into TEA's and UIL's public health guidance. I gave a copy of that to you guys just to show you kind of what's been released at this point. If you'll notice on UILs, it is strictly for summer strength and conditioning. It's not for fall. So they have told us that before the season starts, which football and volleyball both start on August the 3rd, first day they can practice, that we will have guidance from UIL. So that has to be in the next couple of weeks. So we're just kind of waiting to see when it's going to be. Rumor is it's going to be August, July, I can't even call it, July the 15th, but that's this week. I don't know if that will happen or not. So we'll just wait to see what we get from them.
Do you know if they'll do just, I know colleges are going to just all conference games. Is that something they may do?
They've discussed that, but they've not given any indication. At one point they discussed just district games, but I don't know what decision they'll make at that point. Dr. Monzingo and I had the conversation today about right now for summer stuff, indoor facilities are restricted to 50%. So if they leave that, then that's a big conversation we have to start talking about for volleyball games.
Right.
How you limit fans and limit capacity and all those kind of things. So really until we get the guy any of that stuff. Any questions on that? All right. The principals and I met this last week and kind of came up with a foundation plan. We've got a framework we're going to use tomorrow. We're going to meet all day tomorrow, try to get that filled in, and then we're going to present that to the NYPC. We didn't want to start from scratch. We wanted to take what they had already done and then what our new guidance said and kind of show them how that fits together, and then hopefully take a couple hours and be ready to go that day. So we've got a long day ahead of us tomorrow to get that done. And then that goes into the NYPC. We'll meet on the 20th. They will finalize what their recommendations are, and then that'll go through DEIC and SHAC committee just for comments, input. One more thing to let people in the community make comments or give us any input they have. And then that will come back into a final plan. The administrators and I will get together with a final plan, and that will be brought to you guys to review and see what you think about it. And there's been, I told you last time that the way it's worded in there says, principals shall make help. It says that no voting entity, no government entity will vote to approve the plan. That's what it's worded. But some districts are taking it back to their boards anyway for approval. And they're interpreting that to mean that no governmental body like the state or the judge or anything like that.
Our lawyers, see what they think on that.
No, I've not talked to them at all. Y'all can review it and see if y'all want to vote on it or if you want to just review it or whatever.
You're probably gonna be talking to Ron about something else between now and then, so why don't you just bend his ear? Get it on that. It's one of those, if we don't have to approve it, that's the best route, I'm good with it. Approve it. Board needs to be on board, I'm fine with other ones. I'd just rather be safe than sorry on those things. So I don't think it'll make mouth to feel a bean, but
I will ask them about that. And that comes down to Riverview Christian Academy. Just want to keep you guys informed on what's going on. Riverview Christian Academy is a new private school that has moved into Lexington's district. They're from California. I put a little bit of information in your packet about them. They just moved in. It was after we got out of school, wasn't it? Or right at the end of school? Which,
Close May.
May, okay. We were not in school, but we were in school, yeah. In May, and they have girls, troubled girls that are there, and girls that have been rescued from sex trafficking situations, and they provide their education and residence there. So they have come to the school to request a couple of things from us. One is special ed assistance, and two is participation in events and activities. And so we've spent some time with our attorneys, and our attorneys are talking back and forth to them. And we will be treating them as a private school, just like we're required to do, since that's how they're listed. And we will have to provide some assistance with special ed, since they're a private school within our district, but they won't be participating in anything.
So do they have a physical building?
Yes,
It's somewhere in
In the
Lexington?
county?
yes, it's in Edina,
Okay, they say, is it in our district or in Lexington?
our
District, Edina. And they have enrollment, I guess.
They have, right now, they have 13 or 14,
Really?
and they were getting 2 more then. I think they may be up to 20 by now, I'm not sure. They were supposed to be up to 20 before we started school.
Are these
But that
kids
doesn't
from all over, or are they in our
Yes,
district?
all of them.
How many does that facility hold? Or?
Their plan is to have 50, but they said it's a slow process, and they'll gain probably 3 a month is their goal.
How big were they out in California?
What, these are all just high school?
7th grade through 12th grade.
Have you been out there?
I don't know.
Does it seem legitimate?
They are a private school that is operating in our district.
That's all you know so
That's
far.
all you know. Okay.
I've been advised by our attorneys to be careful with what I was.
Right.
When you were saying they moved in, I assume they moved out of Austin or something.
Is it girls only?
It kind of surprises me that it's an out-of-state.
About 45 acres in Edina.
I know, right? California's at Edina.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that throws up a red flag.
Just in case you guys have questions, or somebody in the community asks you about the school, you can say that they are a private school operating within our district, and we will be treating them as such.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Back to school plans, I just told you that we're working on that, and that wraps that up.
All right, with that, nothing else, Dr. Dalton, then we will go to discussion items. First is the board agenda for the August regular meeting. There's several things on there. Budget workshop, the other is adopt the budget, but that won't be during the regular meeting, that will be probably a little later. We can also talk about the tax rate for that. That will happen in August, we're talking about the regular meeting. You can see there what all we've got on there. If you come up with anything else that you want to add, please let Dr. Knowlton or myself know, and we will add you. So, anybody have anything? All right, then we will move to the facilities update. Dr. Knowlton.
I'm gonna turn that over to Stephen. Stephen's here with us tonight. She should give you a really brief update. thought we were gonna be at a point to approve some stuff today, but we are needing a little bit more time to get some things finalized. So, come on in, Stephen.
How you doing, Stephen?
Good. Okay, ready for me?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna keep this brief tonight. Don't have a mask on, you know.
And it's up here, guys.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
I kept looking that way too.
I
It's-
couldn't see it very well.
It's warming up. You can give it a
Oh,
minute.
okay.
Not that it's not warming up.
Okay, just a few highlights. I reported last month that TASB has completed all the sort of everything that we need to do. Don't have that report yet. I still won't on that. The design team did issue the construction documents on the 9th, one day after what we thought. We had 130 plan sheets, 76 pages in the bid. Pretty decent looking set of drawings, and a lot of good information that went out to the bidders. So, where we are on the multi-purpose building, we've kind of been waiting, digging into the details on that till we knew exactly to the penny of what we have in the budget to go to that project. We've got a lot of good input, and actually the design team came up with a different concept that we shared with Dr. Knowlton about first floor and taking some of the ports. So still kind of working through those kind of scopes. So still big picture items right now, second in detail. That'll come later. And then, I think Dr. Knowlton mentioned to you before I walked in, they have received, Weaver and Jacobs has received their bids from their subcontractors. They were working last week on trying to get the final number, and it just didn't have enough time to get you the final number for tonight's board meeting. Oh. So anyway, they're going to be working on that this week, and they pretty much assured me today they'll be ready by Friday, no later than next Monday. So I'm saying the 20th, and then that gives us a couple of days to review it, review it with Dr. Knowlton, go through everything, make sure we're not missing anything scope-wise. And then we were talking about targeting coming back to a board meeting on the 20th that works out with your budget workshop and that sort of thing. We're just trying to get it, if we can, get it awarded so we can go to construction in August so we can get it in the year. And that same kind of timeline I was talking about.
You'll remember that's a 12-month project, and so if we put it off any longer, then it may be done versus start school.
Right. And, you know, and the big thing is it's just not ready for, we were hoping to get ready for tonight. It just wasn't ready. You know, I know y'all were just talking about COVID impact education. The same thing on the construction side. We're still thinking up in the air for supply chain, how it's going to impact bids. And so we need Weaver and Jacobs to work on this and give us the best possible number. So I'm okay with another 2 weeks, get the best possible number. So that's what they're working on. And then after that, part of what he'll do is he'll give us a detailed construction schedule and lay it out from when they start to when they can finish. So that'll be part of that submittal. Okay, Curtis, next one. And then go to the next page. That's just the current budget. The only thing that's tweaked when you see a copy of this from last month is I took the multi-purpose building number back to what it was at the end of last year. I took it back down to 1.35 million just to reallocate numbers back closer to what it was for the cafeteria and classroom. I don't know. Hopefully that's good enough. If not, we're going to know about it. We can talk about it in a couple of weeks. But anyway, if you happen to pull up the one from last month, I did want to note that number got tweaked a little bit back to what it originally was. So I think that's it. Yeah. And so the rest of the information beyond this is a lot of the plan sheets that I showed y'all last month. So nothing changed on the cafeteria, the classroom layout. What y'all saw last month is what they went to bid out. So we feel pretty good about the scope. Just a matter of getting that number in, then bringing that back to the board and sharing that with y'all so we can get that awarded and get that number sold. Any questions for me?
Are y'all pretty comfortable with the 27th? Can we go ahead and tell Stephen to get that lined up for
I'm good on
Weaver and Jacobs? I think they're actually going to come to that board meeting, correct?
They are. Correct.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Sounds like we'll set it for the 27th then, for budget workshop and this
Facilities
and
and back to
whatever else.
school.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Is that brief enough?
That's
Good.
perfect.
Good
All
job.
right, but I'm gonna leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, y'all get evening.
Be careful.
Okay, with that, we will go to item C, which is review the 2021 employee handbook.
Ms. French is gonna present the highlights of that.
Everything in, hopefully you had a chance to go through it.
Mhm.
Things in yellow have been things that have been added. Majority of these are the same options that we have used in the past. I believe there's nothing new, a couple new names, but everything else is pretty much the same. Of course, the payroll calendar is updated for this. So, questions, comments, keep it short and sweet.
All right, nobody has any questions? Thank you, Mrs. French.
Sure.
Okay, with that, we are through with discussion items. We'll move into item 5, which is our action item. First being A, which is our consent agenda. Anybody have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Let me clarify something, because
Okay.
I did have one question from a board member this weekend, so I want to clarify. That transfer list is a combination, right, of, I mean, it's not a combination, it's the ones that have updated since our last time they approved. So it's anybody that's new, and if they're not on there, then that means they possibly did not turn their paperwork in yet, or they have not paid yet. So, the particular ones you asked about, I have not turned their paperwork.
Oh,
But those
But they're
timelines,
coming
the
back.
time, okay, they are coming.
Yeah.
back. Okay, so with
It's an
these,
employee's child, so there's no fee anyway.
right, but as far as anybody else approaching us on the outside, that deadline's coming on.
It's fine.
We're done with transfers.
And we had a discussion last time about them. We did have one family, had 3 children, is that correct? That decided they were not coming back. 3 kids, they decided they're gonna homeschool. So that was 3, and I think that's the only one, Renee, that's.
So it's down 3 from last year.
Well, several have moved into the district too, like 3 have moved into the
So you
district.
really can't compare.
And then we had 4 new ones.
Yes, and 7 total, but 3 of them are employees.
7 total new ones, 3 are employees' kids, and 4 paid.
All right, so anything else on the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
I got a motion by Mr. Hess, seconded by Mr. McClendon to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, with that, we will go to consider and approve the final 2019-2020 House Bill 3 goal.
And I've asked the principals to each present theirs. That was a combination of their plans. And I know it's a little strange for us to be doing this at this point in the year, but we have to have a reported board approved of these goals. We were gonna do that back in March before all this happened. And so the principals have done a great job of pulling this together for you now, so we can get this approved, get it documented, and move forward. So, Mr. Ladd, you wanna start with yours?
Sure. So part of House Bill 3, the 3rd grade has to have specific goals for reading and math. And then there has to be progress monitoring, filtering down into the lower grade levels. So both of them are based on STAR at scoring at the needs grade level or above. The other passing grade is called approaches grade level, and then failing STAR does not meet. So for the early childhood literacy goal, in previous STAR, 40% of our students scored at the needs grade level or above in reading. And then that just goes up by increments of 4%, except for this current school year and next school year, because we didn't have STAR data to anchor on. So instead of jumping 8 percentage points, I kept it stagnant for a year because I just assumed we're probably gonna struggle a little more than we might, just
You don't
making,
know what the street level.
making ends meet. And so then as you go down into our 2 progress measure goals, the first one is specific to pre-K just because our early literacy screener we use for pre-K is different than kindergarten through 2nd grade. I will tell you this, that the subhot data that you see in the 3rd grade goal is not evident in the goals because the database, the data management system that we use does not disaggregate the data into subplots like that. I tried every way I could possibly do it and it just would not do it. So I don't have any kind of goals there other than just basically the overall targets, and you can see those for pre-K and then again for our kindergarten through 2nd grade. The kindergarten through 2nd grade assessment was not required to be changed by the state, but they were offering 2 free. And so we are changing the kindergarten through 2nd grade to one of the free options. It saves us about $2,000 a year. And with budget cuts, I thought that would be something that we could benefit from. So got from my kindergarten through 2nd grade teachers, and we're going to be switching over to the Dibbles 8th edition. Not sure if you guys care about that or not, but it's out of the University of Oregon, and it's a long-standing, obviously it's the 8th edition. It's been around for quite a while. So quite a few of our teachers have already used it in the past, so it made a lot of sense. And then in math, same thing, very similar conversation. The only difference between reading and math is that there is not a lot of universal screeners out there for the primary grade levels for math. So we're going to be using the TEMI, which is the Texas Early Mathematics Inventory test. It's out of the University of Texas. And so I'll be training our teachers on that for our primary. And then, of course, the 3rd grade STAR goal is just to meet those goals across the board. A little higher target because we started off a little higher, but then I also looked at some of the state data and we were ahead of the state data. And so instead of doing increments of 4, I did increments of 2% because we were significantly higher than the state in those areas. And I was afraid to set the bar too high, so I only did 2% increment increase across the years all the way out to 2024. Any questions?
And let me just say, I know some of you are struggling. I just looked at how it's loaded in here and it just
Yeah,
not
it's
load
horrible.
well at all. It's not easy to read. So we're gonna have to look to see how we get that. So when we come back with next year's for y'all to approve, you will be able to see all that. And if you want a hard copy of this, we'll get you a hard copy.
On all my percentages, it has XX %.
Yeah, it didn't.
Right.
load
Yeah, a lot of mine
correctly.
had XX too, but.
She was watching all of this.
I know, I'm like,
I
did we
mean,
scan those in or did we upload them?
I uploaded.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna have to scan them on those pages
See,
like
that's
that.
not how they look on
well, and then you only get the graph and then the other part's on another page, and I don't know what page it would
And then
have.
some of the numbers aren't in there, and
That's-
so,
TEA's template, I had to like change all kinds of settings to print it, so.
Yeah.
It doesn't print out pretty, and I'm assuming you're saying like a print.
Yeah,
screen.
you see like here, there's no,
It's whatever you sent me.
So
I
on the
You just
template,
ordered
there's like 15 tabs across the bottom. So there's like
oh, that's why
Early
we're seeing bits and
childhood.
pieces of it.
board goal, and then there's early childhood campus goal. That's in a bigger district, there may be 30 elementary campuses.
Right.
And so each elementary campus has to have a goal, and then the board here, since we only have one elementary, it would make sense that you guys would just adopt what we wrote for the elementary goal. But in a larger school district that has 70 elementary schools, the board's gonna have to look at 70 different plans and say, okay, what's our reason why it's not.
It's crazy.
we'll work on that, with it being in the new system. I think we'll just have to figure out how to get it in there correctly, but you did a great job of explaining it, so they were. And we'll get it done before we adopt next year's goals.
Well, Mr. Johnson's is probably gonna look the same way.
Yeah.
No, his was a tip.
Yes, okay.
No, but his was his old plan.
I don't think that was.
I see it.
I didn't even.
Yours was that tip template, right?
Yeah, it's just one of the times on that's the plan. It's to say district goals.
Yeah. So,
Let's start over.
you got like
I'll be there in a
19.
minute.
The middle school didn't have a piece in the House Bill 3, but the district, the board set goals to improve math and reading.
Right.
So those numbers are coming from. So I used 2018, 2019, so we did in those years to kind of set goals for the next 5 years for the approaches grade level and needs as well as bachelor's.
I see.
And you can see his full pages on there.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same tip plan that was approved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that you presented,
Yes.
okay.
Correct.
Like on mine, on this particular one, I've got some little boxes that are popping up that you can't read the little boxes. Y'all have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. When I was looking at some of these last night, I guess I saw the X's and it wasn't making sense, but I didn't know if
So a lot of the X's are because
Oh, yeah.
we don't have the number of tests in that subclass.
Well, I think what they're talking about is that was him taking a screenshot. Is that when you were taking a screenshot of their boxes there?
Like on the student data page?
Yeah, you,
Yeah.
on your tip thing, like you look at page 2,
Okay.
there's like
I
this
think it
little
is.
box, or even on page 1, there's a box drop down in there that you can't.
Yeah, it's
read
also
it.
on page 1.
I think that is where you took a screenshot. Did you take?
The actual file itself.
Oh,
Yeah, no, he sent.
You getting like that?
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
an example from first tab is just an example.
Oh, okay.
That was their.
Oh,
template.
okay. Well, then,
We're just showing.
Gotcha.
The first tab says instruction, the second tab says foundations, and then the student data and the district goals is where we started putting together.
So if you flip
Oh,
over
the first few
like
pages
page
were just-
6.
It starts on 6 with actual
Yeah.
Yeah.
numbers.
oh, okay.
Yep. That's it.
Okay.
So the district goals is the only thing that's new as far as that plan goes.
Y'all have any questions on that? And these guys will be coming back to you with their plans for the coming years. That will get a little more detailed and we'll do our academic workshop and really look at these numbers. This is just what was in place for this past year.
Okay. That's all I wondered. You got like a 3 to 5 year plan.
So if you look over on page 9, it shows you a good sample of
Yeah.
the goals all together.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson?
I don't have any.
All right, Ms. Garrison, you're up. Ms. Garrison's is multiple pages
Mm-hmm.
that were uploaded separately. So we'll look back at those.
Can I interrupt right here?
Sure.
Renee, did you just send something about updating? It's trying to update the meeting.
Yeah,
No,
mine
mine
did.
had to
Mine
update
did
too.
too.
Well, like I say, it just popped up and I had to close it. Now it's popped back up again.
Yeah, it asked me to reload.
Okay, all right. We're
I
sorry,
did
this
not.
thing's all new and
We're just figuring it all out.
we're trying to figure it out. Like I say, when it first popped up, it blocked some stuff and I read it and I just,
What do you,
Ms. Garrison, go ahead.
Ms. Garrison, do you want to start with, you'll kind of tell us which title, like Closing the Gap, School Progress, Student Achievement, CCMR, and they can click on which one.
So my first 2 pages are student achievement. And we go through from STAR 2019, which we did, and then setting STAR 2020 as a baseline kind of piece, and going through STAR 2026 and comparing in STAR 2019 the district from the campus to the state, across all the different subplots that are measured. And in the state report, they sometimes put 0 and sometimes put asterisks when those students participated, so a little bit quirky on data there, but that's kind of where we were in 2019, the high school to the state. And so the goal on that meets, which still get credit for approaches, so you've got some strange numbers when you're looking at meets, but to be within 5% of the state percentage point, which kind of looking at for star 21 might have some low numbers, but I just wrote the low numbers rather than putting that 10-point spread on there in the interest of time. So, so that's the meets grade level student achievement domain is the first 2 pages. Did you put the demographics page in there? Yep, you have that one. I don't remember what color I made it, but looks like that.
Put 5 things in
Oh,
One,
there. Closing the gaps, school progress,
three,
On the student achievement, we just have
student achievement, CCMR, and board out.
2 pages.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think demographics.
Okay, well, that was, I was trying to attract that because I was kind of been told to be worried about what numbers, but those are not really changing, but what's concerning is the number of STEM 504 students that's growing, and staffing for that. School progress, academic growth, so that's trying to move kids up in, to make more than a year's progress, to move them from not passing to approaches, or moving from approaches to meets, or moving them from meets to exceeds. So the conundrum there, I guess, would be if you're moving star achievement, you're compressing your capacity to make progress also. But anyway, I did it, and there's goals for 2020 to 2026 to kind of within that state rate perspective. Then CCMR indicators. The state kind of reports that a couple of different ways. First one's all across most of the same subpopulations that they address in state assessment. But then they have what they call college ready, which is kind of your test, TSI, ACT, SAT, AP test, dual credit, or dual enrollment. So if you have more kids doing dual credit or dual enrollment, you can have less AP testing. So kind of watching those numbers go up and praying for improvement there, and then what they call career and military ready, which would be your industry-based certifications, your IEP, your special ed students graduating on their individual education plan. And I don't remember what CES stands for right this second, but then the ASVAB test for enlistment. They're kind of scuttle on whether enlistment's going to be the qualifier or if they're going to move to looking at ASVAB results. So going through the main categories of subpopulations that the state looks at. And closing the gaps is just needing graduation or college, college and career military readiness from the federal perspective. The way to work the same.
I have questions for Ms. Pearson on this year's.
I was wondering why those two were highlighted on mine. The college ready and the career. Well, yeah, they're highlighted.
Well, on the state report, all the way down, it is 16.7 or 66.7.
Yeah.
And that doesn't add up with even the number of African American students that we have enrolled. So there's something going on with the data because it wouldn't populate the same two numbers all the way down. So I just kind of made adjustments.
Okay.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Any more questions for Ms. Garrison, or do you think of anything, Mr. Ladd or Mr. Johnson? not, unless Dr. Holton has something to add, I will entertain a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the final 2019-2020 House Bill 3 goals for LISD.
Awesome.
Got a motion by myself, and seconded by Mr. Betcher, to approve the final 2019-2020 House Bill 3 goals for LISD. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Well, I kind of sit here and looked around.
I'm
Nobody-
trying, I was
That's
trying.
fine. We're good.
She was trying to get
Gives me something new to do. Okay, with that, we'll go to C, which is to consider and approve increase to meal prices. Dr. Noel.
So you have information in your packet from Ms. Lamb about our nutrition program and how we compare to other districts, making a recommendation that we increase our meal prices for students on the lunch and breakfast meal by 25%. And leave the adult meals the same.
25% or 25
Sorry,
cents?
25 cents.
I was like, wait, it wasn't that much.
I didn't say that.
25 cents,
All right,
sorry.
just- I'm sorry, just wanted clarification because I read something different.
Yeah, 25 cents. We of course get evaluated and audited, and this was a recommendation on what we're charging versus what we're spending, that we increase those meal prices for students to get where we need to be.
Most of these schools that are still offering the free breakfast, it looks like across the board, because they're either willing to subsidize that or the federal dollars are getting.
They're federal, yeah. They're Title I and economically disadvantaged numbers are high enough for them to qualify. We're not.
All right, does anybody have any questions over the 25 cent
Cents.
increase across the board for student lunches? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve an increase of 25 cents student lunch and breakfast meal prices at LISD.
I've got a motion by Mr. McClendon, seconded by Ms. Paskey, to approve an increase of 25 cents in the student lunch and breakfast meal prices at LISD. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. With that, we will go to D, which is to consider and approve the property insurance. Dr. Noel.
Yeah, we went out for bids for our property insurance this year. Ms. Ripple's going to kind of tell you what she found out. Number one, we didn't receive the number of bids that we expected. TASB, who we really thought would be one of our better bidders on this, will not bid. Their new policy is that if the district does not have workers' comp with them, they don't bid on anything else. So we didn't receive a bid from them, but we did get 2 bids. Ms. Ripple will tell you a little bit about them.
Okay, we received one from, did y'all receive it?
Mm-hmm.
We received the one from the insurance we have with right now, at TREA. And the other one we received from HTDT. Now, he quoted us $119,756, but then he emailed me back and said that there's this one part about the insurance on the wind and storm, which would add $27,000 to the bill. But he said that you look at it, you know, it says that 1%. Well, the district would pay the full, like, example, if the wind and storm came and you had like $500,000 worth of damage, they would pay 50, and then we would have to pay 450,000.
That's TREA.
No, that's
That's
the
HCD.
HCT, because they didn't, TREA didn't even offer this. And then, but now if we went with the wind and storm, then if the bill was the same way, we would only pay 50, they would pay 450, and then you got 30, it's up to 35 million. They would pay for damage.
If we added the
If we
wind and
added the
storm.
27,000. But the way we have it right now for 119, it would just be the 1%. If we had one, we had to pay 450, it would be 50.
That's what we have right now.
No, that's with the HCP.
Oh,
Now, the one we have right now is that way too.
okay.
But there's a difference, I mean, if we went with that, it would be 147,586. And then we went with this, continue staying with the one we have right now, would be 126.
And that's without any wind or.
Wind and storm, they would just do the 1%. And if we didn't do the wind, it would just be 119,756.
So they're lower anyway, but.
Right.
What I really want you guys to notice in the PowerPoint that was given to you is the recommendation from the triple poll around the different districts.
Yeah.
The 4 districts who did not recommend TREA, and that's who they had. We've not had any issues with TREA, but one district was very forthcoming on the fact that they have not been paid for some payouts that they should have been paid for.
Well, 3 of them at the top had not been, and 2 are in the middle of the lawsuit. They're not paid.
TREA is the one that
We have.
does not offer the storm and wind,
They just offer that 1%.
just the 1%.
Are we saving more money by not doing workers' comp with ASB than we're losing on the backside with the property insurance?
No, we're under contract with Claims Administrative Services. They got the bid when we went that way. It's probably a 5-year.
It's a 5 years, get 3 more years.
3 more years.
So, Claims Administrative Services has majority of the districts for workers' comp. I think that may be TASB's way of trying to get some people to go away from Claims Administrative Services, is trying to pull people back.
And the people that do the insurance for workers' comp, they will be doing for this one too, PDAT. They will cover our, because HET is a broker, but then he uses, PEAT.
The schools that use HCT were very complimentary and talked about them being very personable and working with them. And Ms. Ripple has actually talked to the agent and has found very helpful and informative as we were working through that.
How long have we been with TREA?
How long has that been in?
Well, I know we've been with them a while. I just wondered when y'all were looking at records and stuff, if you had an idea. Mark, do you remember how long?
The only 2 bids we received.
I know. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Well, I
Where I'm
don't
kind
like
of going
Panther.
is the last time.
Exactly, we have.
That's what I'm
I was
wondering.
about. Didn't they, I mean, that was an insurance claim, and they replaced,
Yeah, but that was a long time ago and things have changed. If I remember,
you're right, it's 5, 6, 7 years ago.
well, just before we built the high school.
Yeah.
This will be your 4th year in the high school this year, so 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You remember that was part of some of the people in the community saying we needed to fix the old roof.
Right.
My recommendation is that we go with HCPT for appropriate insurance.
Because I know one school told me
Yeah.
they couldn't even get insurance, and he kept looking and looking. He's out in the middle of nowhere, close to Abilene. He said this guy went like above and beyond, helped him because they don't have a volunteer fire department. He said he really tried hard and got him insurance.
The thing that scares me about TREA is having lawsuits and 4 districts.
There's a lot of-
yeah.
Because I think it's an auto.
Well, you.
No, like I say, I'm comfortable with y'all's recommendation. I'm just kind of,
No,
Right.
auto.
Yeah,
Figure out.
yeah,
Well,
also-
there's
Yeah.
the tornado out there.
Yeah,
Have you resolved that yet?
that's what,
No, that was not.
it's not resolved yet.
But we've got to add 27,000 to that number for the storm damage, right?
Right.
So that was the
In 119.
147 number.
It would, yeah, it's, if we don't do it, it'll be 119, but if we do, it'll be 147.
I don't see not doing
I think you have to.
Well,
You know,
when you look at just the
not
bill
with the
damage just a
amount that
couple
we
weeks
got
ago.
Yeah.
but we never had anything here, right?
Did we have damage on?
None of our bill.
I know the church had.
Plus, he said he would even come out and praise everything in the district.
All right, anybody have any more questions for Ms. Ripple? If not, I'll entertain a motion unless somebody has more discussions on this.
I make a motion to approve a contract with HCDT for LISD property.
A second.
I've got a motion by Ms. Patchke, seconded by Mr. McClendon to approve a contract with HCDT for LISD property insurance. All those in
That includes.
Does that
Oh,
include
that's
the?
all right.
Yeah,
Including the storm.
Mac, would you
I'll take
withdraw
that.
your
I
second?
withdraw my second.
Ms. Patchke, you want to amend your,
Okay,
with that plus the,
Property insurance including
including,
storm
storm
okay.
protection.
Okay. I make a motion to approve a contract with HCDT, including the storm protection for LISD property insurance.
I second.
Okay, got a motion by Ms. Patchke, seconded by Mr. McClendon to approve a contract with HCDT with the storm protection for LISD property. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank y'all. All right, with that, we will go to E, which is consider and approve the revisions for 2020 transfer fee policy.
So during all of this conversation with parents and having parent chats and giving them a chance to ask questions, one of the things that kept coming up from some of our transfer parents was the fear that we as a district were going to transfers out at some point to save money or to have more space for people or whatever. And so their fear was that they would pay their money for the transfer fee, and then we'd go a couple of months and then we'd kick all the transfers out and they would have lost that money. So talked to them for a little while, and I included in your packet the letter. So wanted something in writing before they paid their money that they would be refunded at a prorated rate if we were to make that decision. I don't anticipate that we would ever make that decision. We need those kids. But
that would be fair if you did.
yes, but I wanted it to be in the policy that we said if we had to remove them for some reason during COVID, that they would get their money out at a prorated rate.
Right.
So the amendment, the motion that I have in there has exactly what the wording would be changed to allow us to refund for those people who have paid.
To me, that's only fair. If
Yeah.
it puts them at ease, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
with it. Okay. Unless anybody has any more questions or comments on this subject, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve an amendment to the 2020-2021 student transfer policy to include, in the event that the district makes the decision to revoke all transfers due to the COVID-19 pandemic, prorated refunds will be given to all transfer families.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion by Mr. Hess, seconded by Mrs. Becher, to approve an amendment to the 2020-2021 student transfer policy to include, in the event that the district makes the decision to revoke all transfers due to the COVID-19 pandemic, prorated refunds will be given to all transfer families. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. The last thing under our action items is item F, which is to consider and approve the 2020-2021 district goals. Dr. Nolte.
We did not get a chance to really finish our goals for this year, and so we needed to get started with a plan and start moving forward. And so Ms. Breach is going to kind of go over those with you real quick, but basically we're going to start where we were with the understanding that as we move through this year, we may amend or add to or kind of get more detail, but we wanted a foundation to start the year with. So Ms. Breach?
Ms. Renee, you did include this in there.
Yes, it's
Okay,
fine.
so district goal number 1 would be something totally new, and it just relates back to the health and safety of our students, faculty, families, and community in relation to COVID-19. I know that the New Year Planning Committee is coming up with recommendations, so those will be incorporated into the plan with that objective to implement the protocols and decisions. Goal number 2 is one we had last year. It was actually goal number 1, so I just moved everything down one, so that I put the COVID-19 at the very beginning. You'll notice when you go down to goal number 5, the objective has changed slightly. Because previously it was saying that we would hire an IT person to assist Mr. Patchkey, and we did. Wonderful, thank you very much. But we still need to look at providing resources that's gonna keep pace with our facilities, transportation, and technology. So I just tweaked the wording of it. And then the other goals are the ones that we were working on last year, and we need to continue them because we did not finish out on anything. So I am more than happy to wordsmith this some more if you would like it to be changed a little bit. Or otherwise, I'm gonna hope that y'all are gonna say yes and we can move forward. So tomorrow I can continue typing because I was typing on it today.
Anybody have any questions, comments for Mrs. French or Dr. Knowlton?
I make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 LISD district goals as presented.
I'll second that.
I got a motion by Mrs. Patchkey, seconded by Mrs. Becher, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. To approve the 2020-2021 LISD district goals as presented. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, with that, the time is 7:31 and we will go into executive section under Government Code 551.072 and 551.074. All right.
No, I'm still full. Very fast.
That's it, bye. Oh, I wonder if it's.
Throwaway baby. There you go. So I'm not going doing it and no one else
She
did.
opened the little door to put straw through.
So,
All right, thank you.
that's a great idea. I'm leaving it up my way. Yeah.
Y'all have a good week.
Wearing
Was
a mask.
for a few seconds.
That was every part of it.
You guys
I would say sure.
All right. We're ready, Curtis. Time is 9:41. We're back in regular session. And with that, from executive session, we have nothing under personnel. We have consider and approve the superintendent contract. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to award a new 3-year contract for Superintendent Tanya Olson effective July 1st, 2020.
I second.
I got a motion by Mrs. Betcher, seconded by Mr. McClendon, to award a new 3-year contract to Dr. Knowlton effective July 1st, 2020. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, with that, we will go to consider and approve actions pertaining to the real property out on 696 East. Do I have a motion? Okay. All right, I to reject the bid for the Masonic Home and School of Texas for the real property on 696 East inherited by the district and give superintendent authority to continue negotiation.
Second.
Got a motion by myself, seconded by Dr. Strain, to reject the bid from the Masonic Home and School of Texas for the real property on 696 East inherited by the district and to give the superintendent authority to continue negotiation. With all those in favor. Motion carries 7-0.
Who seconded?
Dr. Strain.
Sorry, I think I was on there.
Okay, unless somebody else has something else, the time is 9:43 and we stand adjourned.
Hey, 3 hours.
3 hours.
We all,
I don't know, we all.
Are we all, Curtis?
He's working on it.
I have need both hands. Hold